On today's episode, we talk about who's allowed the bread and the wine.
Hello and welcome to TGI Monday. We're out here still enjoying this summer sunshine. It's been a good summer, isn't it? Have you had a good summer, Zoe?
Yeah, for the first time ever, we've been able to relax by a swimming pool knowing that our kids won't drown.
Ooh, nice.
It's quite a revolution. Yeah. It's like,
where was that?
What? We were in France. We were at Spring Harvest in France.
Oh,
and it was
what fun.
Amazing.
Great.
Yeah. They can ride bikes without getting run over. And they can swim without drowning. It's a revelation. Holiday actually means what we think it does now.
Some rest. Very good. Simon, have you had a good holiday?
I have had a lovely break, thank you, yeah.
Good. I know
I've forgotten it now, it's busy since.
I was going to say, I know it's been quite busy, but you did have a break. And Hal, well, we know you've just been off all summer.
Been on the sick.
Sitting around.
Playing Pokemon Go mainly.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, mainly.
Good, so it's just me been working then. Excellent.
And Dan, probably.
Yes, maybe. I think
work.
he did have summer holiday as well. I did have a bit of holiday. Okay, well, we've got a question. I'm really sorry. I haven't got the name of the person who sent this in with me, but hopefully you'll recognise it. So the question is, I was baptised into the Church of England when I was a baby, but by the time I was old enough for confirmation, my family were no longer churchgoers. I have found my way back to faith in recent years, but I'm unsure whether I need to get confirmed in order to receive communion or not. Can you help? Great question. I think a lot of people are quite confused about baptism, confirmation, communion, how those things relate, what order they have to happen, and do they all have to happen? So maybe Hal, would you just start us off by explaining what baptism is?
Well, baptism
briefly.
is Baptism is basically the initiation service for the churches, where you are initiated into the family of the church. You're welcomed into the family of the church.
Right, brilliant.
That's all it is. You join the family.
You join the family. That's a great way of putting it. And so, Zoe, what's communion?
Communion is where we take bread and wine. We've got the Iona version here. Usually the ones that are used on Sundays are the shiny silver plates, and sometimes that's received at the altar, but it's the giving and receiving of bread and wine as we remember the Last Supper of Jesus.
Okay, so it's remembering something that Jesus did. It's also, I think,
more than that.
It's more than that as well. So if Hal's talking about baptism as entry into the family, sharing communion is like the family meal, isn't it?
It is
that
the
we
family.
have together.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's something that is bigger than a thinking thing. It's a way of encountering God. It's a way of nourishing your faith. It's a way of coming together as a family.
Absolutely. I had a period of time a number of years ago where I was suffering really badly with depression, and it was sort of all linked with my feelings about the church and all kinds of things, and I couldn't really during that time articulate my faith at all in words, and I couldn't really pray, and I would just cry every time, and it was awful. But the thing I could do was eat bread and drink wine, and it was just the lifeline for me that said, I can show that I'm still trusting in God, and I can still receive His grace to me in that very tangible action, without having to kind of say it all in words or understand everything that's going on. You could just do it. So sorry.
Well, that's perhaps a good start to how to answer the question, because as you said, we're not for you it wasn't about having to say it or even know the right words to express something, and this is where quite a lot of people get messy with the church in confirmation. As it happens, the rite of confirmation is like a rite of passage, kind of a growing up. If you've been baptised as a baby and you then make a decision as someone who's a bit older, it's like that coming of age thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to say where it comes from, though? Because in the Orthodox Church there is no confirmation.
No.
They just do it at baptism. The reason we have confirmation is because it had to be done by a bishop.
Exactly.
And the reason it couldn't be done at infancy is because there weren't enough bishops to get around all the different people
and rubbish
to
roads,
baptise and
so
rubbish
they couldn't
roads.
get there on time. So
It's purely a practical
That's
thing.
really interesting.
That's all
I
it
never
is.
knew that.
We should have gone to a decent college.
I should have done,
you know.
No, possibly they did all that in the ordination bit of the training that I didn't do. Anyway, it also comes out of an impulse, doesn't it, that I think people quite rightly have, of wanting to say those promises that other people made on my behalf, I want to own those for myself now.
And there is a place for that.
Yeah, very
and that's
much so.
important. But we really need to clearly now, in every church and in every way, debunk the myth that confirmation is required in order for you to receive bread and wine, because that simply is not true.
And never has been.
No. And actually there's lots of ways. So my own children, for example, were about 7 when they started saying, why aren't I getting that?
Yeah.
And actually, when we moved here, the vicar who generally would confirm a batch of kids at about that age, or a bit older, or would prepare for that, he said, well, if they could give me tell me why, give me a good reason. And once again, it's just very straightforward. Well, because I am a Christian and I do love God and I am part of this family, so I definitely need to be eating the food and drinking the wine.
Exactly why, which is the best reason that you can actually give, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's why, it was great for me because, I was brought up Roman Catholic and I received communion when I was 8. Right, and both my kids were Catholics. Lydia just had hers a couple of months ago, and it's at that age where you're able to say, "I want to be part of this," and you can make a conscious choice then, and understand that what you're receiving in church is in an objective way different to what you receive at home. So it's not just ordinary
kids
bread.
Kids always cut to the chase on what matters and what doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just
actually,
all right.
so all our religious potential barriers need to be debunked of what people think they're attached to.
I would go even further and say, actually, I don't know that you necessarily even need to wait for the age of sort of 6 or 7 or whatever it is where they can say that, because with a child and a family, they're part of your family from birth, and you include them in the family meal at the point when they're weaned and able to eat.
You
and
celebrate
drink.
their birthdays; they don't understand that.
I regularly will
that's
give if a parent comes up with a child, I offer bread and wine because to not offer somebody wanting to receive is the exact reverse message that God has offered, and this abundant invitation to come all who may, come any who wish.
Absolutely.
And that is so
But the thing is with
important.
communion as well, what it is, if you use a symbol from the Old Testament, is this life is baptism is a bit like crossing the Red Sea or the Reed Sea.
Yeah.
And we have to go through the wilderness of this life until we get to the promised land, which is heaven. We cross the Jordan into heaven. And the food that sustains our souls and our lives is the Eucharist, is communion. And to disrupt the unity of the Eucharist, of communion, and to exclude people from it is a perversion of the sacrament of itself.
Exactly.
And I think that's, and what Rosie is arguing for there, and is always arguing for, is how the Orthodox churches in the East have always done it.
Yeah.
It's an
However,
Anglican
as a
thing.
local decision, actually, bishops can suggest, and some bishops are really very against children receiving communion. Most are not, or anyone who isn't confirmed receiving communion. But that isn't the case across the church. There are, but the decisions are to be made locally by PCCs actually, which is really interesting. But it does leave people unsure. But one thing, as you might move around between churches, and this is a really important point, is that in all of the rubrics, all the stuff that makes it official, you have to say, if you've ever received in any church, you can never ever again be refused.
And I did that
That's
when I had some
important.
people come in from the Methodist church, who were children who came here. They could automatically receive communion because they'd received it in the Methodist
Exactly.
church.
So I hope that's helped answer your question. You don't need to be confirmed in order to receive communion, but it probably might just be worth talking to your vicar in the church that you're at, explaining the situation. He might be very happy with that. He might suggest that it would be helpful, or she might suggest it'd be helpful for you to go through the process of preparing for confirmation, just to
brilliant learning opportunity
to understand your faith a bit more clearly, and to be able to have that public moment of acknowledging your faith as your own. But welcome to the family table.
So thanks for watching today's TGI, and don't forget to subscribe, to like us on Facebook, and to share it all around with your mates.
I wasn't expecting us all to agree so much.
Different things. That's a proper episode, isn't it?
Exactly.